Back on the 13th. View there from the green. You can appreciate there the dog leg to the player's left on the 13th. Now back on the tee is Seve with Takahashi from Japan.
I was going to hit back to you.
One more time.
Somebody.
Seve's 2 up in this game.
Thank you. That's allowed.
33 to the turn. The scoring, in fact, in this match has been by far and away the best in any of the matches. Seve shot 68 in the morning to Takahashi's 69 and was 1 up.
Whenever you're ready then. Huh? Yeah. You're ready. Okay, good luck, eh?
Okay, good luck.
So there you see where Sandy's ball finished, and it's all downhill. And choosing to play it from where it lies, although he's standing in the water, and that's never bad. So match all square, and both balls laying there in 3 on this 13th. Now then, Seve back on the tee, ready to hit. He was just putting his bonnet on there. He looked happy enough with it as the rain starts to pelt down again. We've been lucky all morning, not had any rain. There, I believe, is the result of that Seve tee shot, and he from there will undoubtedly have to go over the fir trees, the tall firs, but shouldn't have any problem from there. Nothing but a medium short iron. Takahashi now, 2 down. He too pulls off to the left, and well, Seve with the slight advantage. So our camera lenses inevitably get spotted.
Meanwhile, back halfway down the 13th, Seve to play his second first. For 141 yards, drive, and that's no more than a 6-iron.
Chance of a 2.
Now, Seve's opponent, Takahashi, and you can see the pin is almost directly over his head round the corner of the trees, maybe even a little bit to the left of that. Oh, and he's tried to hit it over the... In fact, he must have hit a shot very similar to David Ishii a short while ago, and it shouldn't be a real problem to hit a draw right to left. It wasn't a vicious hook they have to get round those trees, and both of those Oriental gentlemen failed to negotiate what for them should not be too difficult a shot.
And Takahashi, back on the 13th, has conceded. So that puts Seve 3 up with 5 to play. On the 14th tee, Takahashi. Now 3 down to Seve, safely on the green. Fourteenth green. This is Seve's second shot. His tee shot finished there behind the umbrellas. And Takahashi in a similar sort of place. Obviously conceded a 3, and Takahashi, who's 3 down, got an opportunity to get 1 back if he can make this. Tall order, still very cold. Greens and course in superb condition, as good as I've ever seen for this event. Bernard Gallagher was telling me this morning that with all the heavy rain they had last week. It got a good rest, of course, and got the greenkeepers, or gave the greenkeepers, a wonderful opportunity to present it so well, and they have. And then, well, to be greeted with the first day as they were greeted with yesterday, it's very sad. I suppose one has to be realistic and say that mid-October is very late in our season to hold this event. Takahashi then for a 2 on the 14th. Well, Seve may just feel generous enough to concede that, will he? Yes. Yeah, I thought so. 3 up with 4 to play for Seve Ballesteros.
From the newsroom, the main stories at 3 o'clock. Government ministers are meeting to discuss the chaos and devastation caused by the violent storms which swept across southern England early today. The meeting, chaired by the Home Secretary Douglas Hurd, is deciding how to deal with the emergency. At least 12 people were killed in the gales. 2 men died in Hastings, one when part of a hotel collapsed, the other when he was struck by a hut as it was blown along the beach. Several motorists were killed by falling trees and branches. Millions of people had no electricity for many hours, and some are still waiting to have their power restored. In the North Sea, helicopters buffeted by 70-mile-an-hour winds winched 40 men to safety from a gas rig, but the winds were fiercest along the south coast.
Only now is the full damage caused by the ferocious storm becoming apparent, with virtually nowhere in the south of England remaining unscathed. All along the south coast, houses and blocks of flats have had their roofs torn away. It's a scale of devastation not experienced since the Second World War. Several people have been rescued by firemen, with buildings in danger of collapse. 2 firemen were killed in Dorset when a tree fell on their fire engine. These Sussex policemen escaped unhurt when a tree fell on their patrol car. The centre of Brighton this morning was unrecognisable. Coast Guards on the Isle of Wight say they recorded winds of more than 110 miles an hour during last night's storm. The wind speeds then went higher even than their instruments could record.
The hurricane-force winds which lashed London in the early hours of the morning were the strongest ever recorded in the capital. Hundreds of trees were blown down in the city centre and the suburbs. The West End also took a battering. Some department stores had their shop fronts blown out. The fire brigade were inundated with a record number of emergency calls. By dawn, the full scope of the damage was clear. Many roads were blocked by fallen trees. With rail links cut and tube and bus services curtailed, the police warned people to stay at home unless their journeys were really necessary.
Gusts of up to 100 miles an hour across the eastern counties closed hundreds of roads. The driver of this lorry was taken to hospital after a tree crashed onto his cab. Another driver died in an accident in the gales at King's Lynn. On the railways, nothing moved. It's likely to be at least 48 hours before services are back to normal. Power and phone lines are down. Engineers face a long struggle to restore supplies to remote villages. On the main roads, motorists weave their way around fallen trees, while some towns and villages remain cut off completely. The emergency services have been coping throughout the night and morning with thousands of calls for help. The long list of incidents growing longer by the minute, callers being urged to be patient. The official advice from the police, even in the main towns and cities, was for people to stay at home.
Other parts of Europe have also suffered from the storms which have affected an area extending from Portugal to northern France. Gales hit the coast around Portugal's second city, Oporto. Towns and villages nearby were flooded, harbours closed and railway lines cut. The French province of Normandy experienced similar weather to ours. In Paris, winds brought a heavy crane crashing to the ground, causing traffic chaos in the rush hour. The gales were the worst ever recorded at the London Weather Centre, with one gust reaching 94 miles an hour. But the Meteorological Office has been criticised for failing to alert the emergency services beforehand.
It took the country by surprise. The question is, why? At the headquarters of the Met Office at Bracknell in Berkshire, weathermen had seen something was brewing as long ago as last Sunday. But then there was no indication of just what was in store. At the London Weather Centre, the blue gauge registered the 94-mile-an-hour gust on the roof. Another wind gauge on the British Telecom tower was blown away. The readings just gave up. Experts today said it's not the Met Office's fault. They didn't foresee it earlier. This type of depression is notoriously difficult to forecast accurately.
There's Seve back down the fairway here on 15. Coming in from a good angle, pin cut to the right side, Seve's on the left. And that's a good shot. Left himself a long way there for the second shot, but putting up the hill now with a right to left break. Comfortable 3-up lead. And there is his opponent, Takahashi. Coming in from not the ideal place, from the right side of the fairway. It's a fine shot. He was unlucky enough. 15th green, and Seve Ballesteros with his third shot. It's a good putt. That's a great putt. Oh, well, going at that speed and on the right side of the hole, how that could possibly miss. But it did. Now this opponent of Seve's, Takahashi, 3 down. It's downhill and right to left. And up ahead on the green, Takahashi's third. This for a win. Big swing, as you can see. All a question of pace. It'll be a 4. He'll back on the fairway. Seve just studying the magic book. His yardage. Tee shot in an ideal position there. He's 3 up, just 3 holes to play, and unless Mr. Takahashi is going to do something spectacular, one has to say Seve's very safe indeed to get through to tomorrow's quarterfinals. Just a medium low iron, nothing more than an 8 or 9 iron. Oh, classic. Gorgeous golf shot. Now he can relax, I think. There is his opponent, Takahashi, and I don't know whether he's holed one from 140 yards downwind for a while, but I think he may well have to do that to stay in this Suntory World Matchplay Championship for 1987. The bigger the divot. Good shot. Safely on, but it'll not be good enough, I'm afraid. And that was for a 3 from Takahashi on the 16th, and I'm sure he will concede Seve's now because he needed to win the hole. That's a win for Seve Ballesteros against Takahashi of Japan. Seve goes into the quarterfinal tomorrow.
Ballesteros wins 4-2.
Keith Williams there, the referee, just congratulating Seve. 4-2 victory. A lot of these people, it's marvellous the way